Okay, welcome to your second video. We will return to the novel now, and today we're going to have a closer look at characterization of the main character. Last week you worked on pages, I think the pages up to page 24, and you thought a bit about flashbacks. For example, Clarice reminds Montag of a candle as a flashback, and foreshadowing, like Montag thinks about the ventilator grill as a foreshadowing of Montag hiding the books. And then you also worked on worksheet 2, that was part 1, the hearth and the salamander, pages 16 to 24, and you answered the question. That was basically a right or wrong sheet, and I hope this worked out all right. As a first step in characterization and characterizing Montag, we will do a short revision here on flat characters and round characters. This is maybe something you're familiar with, that you've talked about before in novels or in plays. Flat characters and round characters. We might have talked about it already when we were dealing with A Raisin in the Sun. So just to remind you, a flat character is someone who doesn't really play a role in the novel, who doesn't develop within the novel, and just basically stays the same he or she is and doesn't really have many interesting character features. And a round character obviously is the opposite, develops and has lots of interesting character traits that you can analyze. You yourself should maybe think about who actually is a flat character in Fahrenheit 451 and come up with some ideas. And I think the round characters are more or less clear. For example, Montag, of course, is a round character. You can debate, of course, if Mildred is a round character or not, and several others of the main characters. Flat characters, for example, would be the technicians who appear to help Mildred to pump out her stomach. These will they will qualify as flat characters. Okay, there is also the term, of course, protagonist, which actually we only use in novels. The protagonist is the main character, and the word actually means the person who carries the story. And this, of course, here, big question, who's the main character? Of course, that's Montag. A character can be presented by direct and indirect characterization, and you have maybe already heard about that. Direct and indirect characterization. The question is, what is the difference between direct and indirect characterization? You can think about that for yourself for a while, see if you remember, and take some notes if you want to. And if you're sure what is meant by that, you can resume the video and look at the solution. Okay, so if you want to think about that for a moment for yourself, stop the video and resume it after a while. Okay, direct characterization means that the narrator, that means Erzähler, the person who tells the story, describes a person and the narrator describes his or her character traits and explains his or her actions. That is what we call direct characterization. The narrator, never say the author, always say the narrator, because it's the narrator who tells the story. Actually, it's not the author. And in this case, of course, we have a third person narrator. We will talk a bit more in detail about the narrator later on. Yeah, third person narrator. It's not a first person narrator, it's a third person narrator, because it's he, Montag. It's not I who's telling the story. And this narrator describes the persons in his story and describes the character traits, explains their action. And this is what we call direct characterization. Now, if that happens indirectly, then the reader has to infer what a character is like from what he or she does, or what he or she says, or how he or she behaves. So the reader has to find it out from behavior, actions, and talking of the character. It's not directly presented to him. Like, for example, saying direct would be Montag is a person who is very brave. That is a direct characterization. And indirect would be that Montag is doing something which is very brave, and this is how we know that he's a brave character, but it's not actually said. Yeah. So the reader has to infer what the character is like. Infer here means what the character is like. So to infer means he has to find out for himself. Yeah, it's like from his what she does, from his actions, from what he or she says, and his behavior and statements, you could say. So we're not told directly, we have to find out for ourselves. All right, and now, of course, we are going to have a closer look at that in the text. Yeah, so your task now is to find in the text up to page 24, so page 9 to 24. I want you to find examples for direct and indirect characterizations, and I would like also you to find out what those examples reveal about the character. So what does it tell you about the characters? This is your task now, so try to find as many examples as you can. I will show you some examples as a solution in a moment, but you should really try to find some yourself, because only then you can learn what actually means direct characterization and what does indirect characterization mean. Okay, stop the video here, look at the text, try to find examples. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, if so far you had problems, here are some ideas. Yeah, example for direct characterization, for example, page 10, a direct description of Clarice's face and her curiosity, and an example for indirect characterization and the analysis of it. You have to find that out for yourself. Clarice thinks about the what does she think about. Have a look at the text, and in a minute you will see some more solutions. Okay, here you can see some more ideas for your solutions. You have 2 examples for direct characterization, 2 examples for indirect characterization, and also the analysis is added. That means, what does this say about the character? Yeah, if we're talking about indirect characterization, you always have to do some analysis, because from the way Clarice thinks about the answer and admits she does not know, you have to infer, you have to deduce to find out what that tells us about her. Yeah, so this is the analysis part. So you have to find that out for yourself. Montag is whistling. What does it tell us about himself? It means he's happy and seems to like his work. At this moment, it might be useful to remember the so-called PEE method in analyzing, because this is exactly what is happening in a characterization. You remember that P stands for point, and the first E stands for evidence, And the last E for explanation. You can change or swap the two E's, that's not a problem. But here you can actually see how this works. So the point would be, for example, here that the point is Montag seems happy, he seems to like his work. The evidence for that is, do that in pink, yeah, the evidence is here at page 9, line 26. He is whistling, and then the explanation would have been added again by you. So you would have to explain why does that mean that he is happy and seems to like his work, because you can see he's whistling, he's relaxed, he's has his mind on other things, it's easy going for him, it's not hard work, and he's happy and content. And this is exactly what is happening here as an analysis for point, evidence, explanation. Explanation, he's relaxed, feels content, and this is what the whistling shows. Okay, as a last step today, you are going to work on a character file of Guy Montag, the protagonist of our story, on a worksheet. You can download the worksheet on Moodle if you want to and print it out, but you don't have to, because I will also show it to you here. Worksheet 3. The character file of Guy Montag, and you should use the pages that we've used so far, so that's 9 to 24, and of course you can add information from all the other chapters if you want to, but you should definitely start with these pages and fill in all the interesting things you can find out about Montag, because as a next step, obviously, we will talk about Montag. We will also talk about Clarice and Mildred, these two women in Montag's life that are quite different. And this is what's going to happen next. Maybe next week in class or next week as a video. We will see how far we get to prepare that. So task number 1 is worksheet 3, and task number 2 is another worksheet you will also find on Moodle or here. And maybe I will see you in class next week, or wherever, whenever, or we will go on with the video lessons as we've done this week. Take care, and I may see you in the Zoom meeting on Friday. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.